Hi, today we're speaking to Anu Aga from India. How are you?
I'm fine.
So to start us off, how would you describe your journey from a 16-year-old to where you are today?
16-year-old to the journey today.
Yes.
Oh, well, I was brought up in Mumbai, in the suburbs of Mumbai, and I come from an upper middle class family. I have two older brothers, and I'm the only daughter in the family. My father was an idealist man and wanted to do something for the freedom fighting of India, when the British were there.
Yeah.
But his father was a doctor in the British Army. And he said, if you do that, my pension will be stopped. So he was requested not to do that. And my sent his sons to English medium schools, taught them wine, but he experimented with his daughter, and I was sent to Gujarati medium school for Indian dancing, and I had to be the Indian side of me had to be established. And all my cousins went to English medium school, spoke perfect English. And as a kid growing up, I felt very small because I couldn't converse very well in English. I couldn't uh, play the piano, which they could. They all went to convent schools. And in a way, I resented my father experimenting with his daughter, but not with his sons. But later in life, I'm very thankful to him because most of my cousins didn't feel at home in India and have moved to America, whereas I love my country and I'm very rooted here. So that was the good point of my school. It was an excellent school. I was a very good student, better than my brothers, but my family never once told me I could join the family business. It was always told to my brothers that they will have to join, and I almost thought that women never entered the family business because in those days there were not many role models for me. So I went to St. Xavier's College, did my BA, and then went to a social work college, a very prestigious college called Tata Institute of Social Sciences, where I masters. And as soon as I finished, I married a wonderful man who was my brother's, and uh, he always encouraged me to do whatever I wanted. I had a lovely job, and then when business moved to Pune, we moved to Pune. That came to Pune. By then, I had my daughter, a second daughter who died at 4 months, and my son who was brought up in Pune. Uh, when I came to Pune, I started socializing with the well to do women who were not working, and I decided to have a good time and play cards and mahjong. And my husband was most upset that instead of doing something interesting, I was leading such stupid life. But the more he asked me to start working, I started rebelling, and I was saying, I'm an adult. You don't have to tell me to do. But when my husband was in his 40s, he had a massive heart attack, and we had to go to England for a bypass. And he had a stroke on the second day. And for 2 years, we went through hell. My husband went through hell, and I went through hell. And at that time, our company was a private limited company, and well wishers said that I better take interest in it because our kids were very young. So I joined in the human resource division, and I had a wonderful boss who nurtured me, encouraged me, and I loved that. I really enjoyed it. And 5 years later, when my boss decided to leave the company, I was made the head. Uh, Again, let me repeat, that's the time I loved my work because I knew what to do. coming from a psychology background, I was very comfortable. I had very good relationship with my people. They accepted me very well. And our human resource won many prizes in India during that time. That was wonderful. Here, my husband's son, we went public a year before he suddenly died. Let me tell you a little bit. My daughter had studied chemical engineering in England and had joined the company as a trainee engineer. And my son had studied also in England, and he also joined us as a trainee engineer. My daughter got married to a very fine boy, and we requested them to go to England and turn around a company that was not doing well. And I promised my daughter when she got her first kid, I would be with her for 6 months. So 5 years later, when she delivered a child, I went to England. I was with her. Fortunately, my husband came there twice and saw his grandson, was delighted. But when I back after 6 months and came to Mumbai to pick me up, just before coming to the airport, he had a massive heart attack and died. And on the third day, the board met and said I had to take over as the executive chairperson. I was most uncomfortable. I felt I wasn't equipped to run this company and that this was asked of me because we owned 62% of the shares. I was also deeply missing my husband. We were very close companions. And though he had suffered a lot for 2 years, he had regained everything and was really working hard to get back to his old self. I begged my board not to make me the chairperson, but they said, you will do well. Have you heard of a program called Vipassana?
I recognize the name from somewhere, yes.
It's a Buddhist meditation program about which I had heard a lot. It requires you to be completely silent for 10 days, no reading, no writing, just meditating for 10 hours a day and going inwards.
Yeah.
I found it difficult. And my husband, when he was alive, used to jokingly say he would love to see me quiet for 10 days. But that wasn't difficult for me. But sitting for 10 hours and meditating was difficult. Before I came for Vipassana, I was paranoid about death. If anyone spoke the word death, I would find a piece of wood and touch it. Even on the Bombay-Pune expressway, if something unpleasant was told, I told my husband to stop and I'd go and touch wood. But I realized in my Vipassana meditation that however much I don't like the idea of death, it is inevitable.
Yeah.
All of us on this podcast will die one day. We don't know when, why, and how. So I started to accept death as a phenomena and not call it a tragedy. People refer to death as tragedy. What is inevitable and bound to happen cannot be called a tragedy. For me, tragedy is not investing while you are alive in people and in relationships that matter, and then having regrets after the death. So I realized invest in myself and in others who matter for me. I also realized I have to stop comparing myself with my husband because I can never be Rohinton. His name was Rohinton. And I realized an apple tree cannot give bananas. If I go to an apple tree and say, please give me bananas, it will not give me and I will not enjoy the apples also. So I decided I will give out what's best in me, and that's all that can be expected. So I came back all charged after my Vipassana experience. Unfortunately, the Indian economy went to downturn and our 400 rupees shares were quoted at rupees 36. I got an anonymous letter from a shareholder saying, I don't know about your economic situation, Mrs. Aga, but I think you have let me down. For my husband and me, letting down someone was a dirty word. I had sleepless nights and I didn't know what to do. I was lucky that the head of Boston Consulting Group, who's a friend, came for dinner to my house. So my daughter and I talked to him and said, what should we do? And he said, I'm not saying this because I'm the head, but do engage with Boston Consultancy Group for your turnaround.
Yeah.
My executives, male executives, were against it. I think asking for help is not a macho thing. So men find it difficult. But I convinced the board that we needed to engage them, pay their hefty fees, and it was one of the best things that happened. And we turned around. 14 months after my husband died, my son, who was traveling in a car, met with an accident and died when he was 25. My husband was 60 when he died, but I never expected my son to die at 25.
Yeah.
And the pain I felt when my husband had died receded into insignificance what I felt when my son died. But my Vipassana meditation, which I do every single day for about 40 minutes, helped me to realize, remember what I said, it is inevitable. We make rules that the young don't die. But if you go to any hospital, you'll see so many young people dying at a very young age.
Yeah.
I realized many things. Death teaches us many lessons. We realize our life will end somewhere. So why not put meaning into it and get the best out of it? Not to waste our time, not to waste our lives.
Absolutely.
I have attended 4 Vipassana programs, and I said I meditate every day, and I would really advise most people to do some form of meditation, if not Vipassana, to calm your inside, and also to accept yourself as you are and then gently push towards change.
Yeah.
I say in a funny way, I learned to love my shit. It didn't smell so bad to me. And once I accept my own shit, I learned to accept other people's shit and not be so reactive or judgmental.
Yeah,
So,
Sorry. I was just gonna ask you a question. So first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. I mean, it's obviously horrific, but I'm gonna ask you a question. How are you able to deal with these losses that you encountered with your family and almost develop the trait of happiness through meditation?
I can't explain. It's a process which happens automatically when you meditate for years. Something change, nothing magic. It's not magic that suddenly you change. But there is an equanimity. Your highs and lows are not there. You are on a more even keel and you accept life as it unfolds. You don't expect everything good to happen to you. Remember the Holocaust, or remember in South Africa what happened with the blacks?
Yeah.
How do you think they felt? How do you think they dealt with it? How do you think the poor in India, who have not enough to eat, not a roof over their head, manage their lives and still are cheerful and don't become bitter? So when I look around, I'm so blessed. I have a wonderful family of daughter, husband, and 2 grandchildren. I have money to indulge myself and do social work, which I very much enjoy and find it meaningful. So how can I ever complain when I'm so blessed? So with meditation, you realize the good things that are happening to you and accept the bad things as inevitable.
Absolutely. And when looking at meditation, what meditation strategies do you use in your personal life?
What meditation?
Strategies do you use in your personal life? Like
There is no, this is not a business where there's a strategy and a consultant. I went for my course for 10 days, 4 times in life. And through grueling, sitting around for 10 hours a day and reflecting, you get a lot of strength from within. This is not a process that can be explained as a theory. It's an experience you have to go through.
Yeah.
You have, when you have so much time on your hand, you reflect, deeply reflect, and answers come from within, not automatically or not easily. You have to struggle. But I find one of the nicest things that happened in my life was my meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look in the world we live in and our society, do you believe wealth can be seen as the route to evil or good?
World can be seen as good or evil?
Yes.
I think there's nothing evil in the world. Is not evil. All of us become evil from time to time. I do bad things, you do bad things. That time we are evil. And there are good things we do that we are wonderful. So there's a mixture of both good and bad in each of us. It depends which one you are more in touch with and which one you allow to happen more often. And with, again, reflection. I have read a lot on death also. In fact, my son used to jokingly say that I must be an authority on death. So, yeah.
Yeah. And how can someone maintain a sense of humility during times of success?
Again, I have a little belief that we have two sides within us, all of us, an ordinary side and an extraordinary side. And it's easier to define myself as ordinary because then I can feel sorry for myself and say, oh, me, an ordinary person, what can you expect out of me? Gandhiji was an ordinary person, and his experience in South Africa got him in touch with his extraordinariness. And you know what he did for Indian independence. Similarly, each of us has an extraordinary self also. And if we get in touch with it, we can do extraordinary things. And when we do extraordinary things, we get a bloated ego and think we are the best in the world. Then we have to realize with humility that we have an ordinary side in us also. So this balance between extraordinariness and ordinariness keeps us on Mother Earth and does not think we are great. There's another saying which has had a deep impact on me. Our stay on this earth is short, our roles dispensable, and our impact inconsequential. So whether you are the president of a company, the Queen of England or the King of England, whatever your position, remember it's temporary.
Yeah.
And you are not the greatest. If you don't let success go to your head and realize it gives you responsibility to reach out to those who haven't had so many opportunities, who are facing a blank wall. So instead of being self-consumed and spend all your time and money on yourself or your family, you reach out. And that gives you a lot of happiness. Another thing I find that helps me is a sense of humor. By that, I don't mean laughing at jokes, but laughing at myself, at my own stupidities. And there's plenty. And the more I can laugh at myself, life becomes easy to deal with. Another thing I find is very often as we grow old, we become rigid in our habits. And very often I've heard people say, I can't change at 80, 81. I am as I am. Take me as I am. I think if you can't change, you might as well die. I think I have tried changing all my lives. For example, there is a belief that you can't make good friends after your college days, and all your friends were made during your youth. Now, that's for me is a fallacy. I made excellent friends all through my life's journey at every stage. So, similarly, my favorite emotion was hurt, and I would withdraw and not dialogue with people. That didn't help, because if you withdraw that and you don't communicate, that's not a very helpful thing. So I decided to look at my hurt, not by saying, go away, it doesn't happen, but really reflect in my meditation and say, what can I do? How can I change? And I'm happy to say I'm not completely without hurt, but it has reduced to a dramatic level. And my family has noticed that even when I'm hurt, I'm willing to dialogue, communicate, and say what's happening rather than just withdraw.
Yeah, absolutely. And are there any experiences that have had a profound impact on your commitment to philanthropy and giving back to your community?
Not to my community. I am not giving a penny to my community. I'm giving to different causes. My community, Zoroastrians, are a rich community. They have enough funds to help the poor. So I don't help my community, but I do take up causes. For example, let me tell you, my son who died in the car accident was very keen that substantial amounts of what we earn should go towards philanthropy. And he said, if you don't, I'll go back to England. And I hate doing anything at gunpoint. So I said, go if you want, but don't tell me I have to do anything. But soon after that, he died. And that thought was going through my head. And I asked everyone, who can I go and meet? Which is a credible NGO? Who is a dependent person I should meet? So everyone said I should go and meet a young lady called Shaheen Mistry, who had started an NGO called Akanksha in Bombay. So I went to Mumbai, I met her, spent many hours. We both took a great liking to each other. What her model was that the poor children who go to government schools really don't learn much, nor do they have any extracurricular activities. So she would bring them to a center, about 60 children in each center after school for 2.5 hours. And two teachers would teach them maths, English, having fun, some creativity. And she had about 45 centers in Bombay. I brought them to Pune, and Shaheen invited me to the board of Akanksha. And today, Akanksha has moved from the center models to run schools for the poor children. And these schools give excellent education. And the children who have passed out have got admission into good colleges, have some of them with help from donors, have studied abroad. And our aim is to pull children out of poverty and make them good human beings. That's important. Your degrees don't make you a good human being. So how do you remain honest, reaching out to people? Then 15 years ago, Shaheen asked me that she wanted to start another movement called Teach for India. Have you heard of Teach for America?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So she wanted to bring that to India, and if I would partner her, and I readily agreed. So we started Teach for India, and now that has spread to 8 cities. We have the ability to influence thousands and thousands of children. So these education is my main thing. Human rights is another thing I strongly believe in. And when people are not given freedom to speak what they want to, criticize the government, and are locked up because they do that, I would like to help those causes. I want freedom of press. In India, we don't have freedom of press to the extent I would like it. So that's a cause. My daughter is very interested in climate change, in music. My granddaughter is interested in looking after animals, especially dogs and cats. So each of my son-in-law likes to do something in the health sector. So we all five meet, decide how much to give and to which areas. But I always believe that writing out checks is relatively very easy. We must give our time, our skill to the causes we believe in.
Yeah.
So I push them to spend time in these for these causes.
Yes, and you mentioned creating a good person is very important. What are some fundamental or things that people should develop to become a good person?
I think they should be first of all aware of themselves. You know, uh, for example, if you're addicted to anything, drugs, cigarettes, even TV or your iPhone, your phone is an addiction. These are all addictions to me. And either you take external help or through reflection go to a meditation program. I don't know, I can't be prescriptive. Each one has to find. But first be aware that you have an addiction. Also, those who don't look down on those people, because you may have an addiction for overeating. All of us have some addictions. Huh?
Yeah.
So be aware of your own addiction before you criticize and evaluate another person. So a good person is aware of her own faults before she criticizes the others. She reaches out to other people when they need help. She's honest, brutally honest with herself and with others. These are some of caring, compassion.
Yeah. And then, is there any advice you would give to teenagers or young adults who aspire to make a positive impact in the world?
In the world?
Yes.
In the world? Where?
Is there any advice you would give to
Well,
teenagers who want to make
yeah.
an impact in the world?
I would say find out which cause appeals to you. For example, if something doesn't appeal, your heart won't be there. You won't be able to give your time with real sincerity. So find out, take a little time to go and study perhaps, or go and visit different NGOs, decide on a cause and give your time. I think time is a very important gift you can give to another person. If you are young, you could even find which disability moves you. If it's blindness, perhaps go and read to the blind. If it's old people, go and meet and talk to them. If they are young teenagers who are in homes, juvenile homes, go and talk to them, read to them, and explain to them what life is. Life is not simple, life is hard. But you don't take shortcuts by taking drugs or getting into bad company. You don't all the time want a good time. If you're all the time wanting a good time and have a high, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is your personal definition of success in your life?
For me, as I said, of course, I take that you may do well in your studies, you may achieve some rewards and awards, but you don't stop there. You become a better human being regularly. Every day you introspect and become a better human being. Not fight with causes outside, but within yourself. What is it that you want to change within yourself? And work towards that, either with some consultant or counselor, or from reflecting within with your meditation. Whichever, I can't be prescriptive that this cause is better than another, whichever one you like. But be engaged with something outside yourself. To me, a successful human being uses the wealth as a trust. Wealth is not for your own consumption, but you are a trustee and you help others with it. That's Gandhiji's concept, which I love very much.
Yep. And what is the next step in your journey?
As I said earlier, I'm 81 and I stepped down from the corporate world over 20 years ago. And I strongly feel that work, though very important, can't be the only thing. I mean, corporate work, you're living, you're getting and earning a living, can't be the only thing you do all your life. And from family businesses, it's important to step down and let the new people take their place. That's important. So I stepped down 20 years ago, had more time for social work, for my family, for my friends, a little bit of traveling, reading, spending time exercising. I take very good care of my health. And I think every human being owes it that they take good care of themselves. And that should start at a young age.
Yep, absolutely. And then to end us off, if you could go back and say one thing to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
Be more sensitive to the people around you. Don't be self-absorbed. And reach out to people. And that joy which you get will not be the same as having a lot of money or possessions or getting a perk or a position in life. Be reflective, be aware of your surroundings, of yourself. And start this journey of reflection. I would tell the 16-year-old, go and attend a Vipassana meditation. And the 16-year-old said, 10 hours of sitting and no talking for 10 days, never. And I would say, try it. Very gently, not pushing. And I wish I had started that journey a long time back.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And you are a true inspiration to me and many other people. So I really do appreciate this. Thank you.